Welcome to the Jesus Love Channel, a place where hearts are encouraged, faith is strengthened, and the love of Jesus is shared with truth and tenderness. Here we believe that no matter who you are or where you come from, God's love has the power to reach you, restore you, and lead you into a life of peace, purpose, and hope. Through every story, teaching, prayer, and message we share, our desire is simple: to point you to Jesus, the one who knows you completely and loves you unconditionally. Whether you're searching for answers, needing encouragement, or simply longing for a deeper connection with God, we are so glad you're here. This is more than just a channel. It's a community, a safe space, a spiritual home for those who hunger for truth and healing. Thank you for joining us. May every word spoken here remind you that you are not alone. You are deeply loved. In Christ's love, the Jesus Love Channel team, my child, pause right where you are. Feel the stillness settling around you, just for a breath. I see the weariness deep in your soul, the confusion that has clouded your steps, the unseen battles you fought in silence. You've been walking near an edge, closer than you realized. But this moment right now, this very one, is not random. Heaven has marked it with purpose. Its arrival is not by chance, but by divine design. You may have felt alone. You may have questioned, wondered if you had missed something important, or if you were too broken to continue. But I guided your steps to this very place. What you are stepping into is not just encouragement, it is a sacred time, prepared in the spiritual realm, now becoming visible in your everyday life. Time is not unlimited, and this season carries deep weight. But don't be afraid, my beloved. Don't shrink back. Choose to act. I have seen your struggles. I have watched the doubts that wrestled your hope, the tiredness that no amount of sleep could fix. I saw when you came close to your limit, that quiet place where giving up seemed like relief. And my heart moved. I paused everything else in my dominion to come close to you. Not because you begged loudly, but because I already knew. I knew you before the world began. I knew your name when no one else did. I knew the depth of what you carried, even when others overlooked it. What you endured wasn't just hard, it was holy. A purposeful test, allowed not to harm, but to refine. The light within you has always drawn resistance, not because you are weak, but because you are marked. I felt your trembling. I heard the prayer you couldn't voice. I saw the pain in your spirit when your body was still. Others may have misunderstood your silence, thought you were pulling away, but I saw clearly you were in a fight. Not a fight with people, but with pressure, with unseen forces that knew how important your calling truly is. And that's why the trouble came suddenly, consistently, with precision. Emotional stress, blocked paths, unexpected fatigue. It wasn't coincidence. It was a coordinated attempt to stop your forward movement. But my grace stepped in. I didn't promise a life free of pain, my child, but I did promise you'd never face it alone. And what was meant to break you, I used to wake you, to shift the direction of your life before a dangerous choice could take root. A decision that may have looked small to you on the outside, but in the spiritual world carried consequences. So I intervened, quietly, precisely, not with thunder, but with a shift in your spirit. That sense of urgency you felt, the discontent, the stirring, it is me. I've changed the air around you. Heaven has drawn close, and I am here. You felt it, haven't you? The shift in the atmosphere, a sense that things are not as they were. Conversations feel different. Connections once warm now seem distant or strangely intense. You've cried without knowing why, felt unsettled in moments that should have brought peace. This is not random. The spiritual air has changed, and you are sensing my direct presence. This time in your life is not ordinary, it is sacred. Not because you feel strong, but because I have drawn near. You are not being visited in your moments of triumph. You are being embraced in your moments of exhaustion. When you came close to giving up, I stepped in, not with sympathy, but with power. Not to console you into silence, but to restore what nearly broke. You were facing more than just fatigue, my beloved. This was a spiritual assault. The enemy wasn't simply trying to slow you down. He was aiming to make you forget who you are. His goal was to distort your identity, to bury your true name under layers of shame, weariness, and lies. He whispered labels like forgotten, insufficient, unworthy. But those were never from me. I never called you by your wounds. I've always known your name, the one I spoke over you before you were formed. The struggle you faced wasn't ordinary hardship, it was strategic warfare. That's why it felt so intense, so targeted. Stress surrounded your emotions. Unexpected problems strained your resources. Paths that looked clear suddenly closed. But know this, my child, it was never about the circumstances. It was always about your calling. You see, the one against you doesn't bother with empty vessels. He attacks those who carry something holy, something dangerous to the darkness. That's why the pressure increased as you came closer to clarity. He hoped to crush you before you could step into alignment with who I created you to be. But he failed. You are still standing, still breathing, still reaching. That is not weakness, that is endurance. That is evidence of my protection. You resisted the urge to let go, even when holding on seemed foolish, and I honor that. You didn't fail, you fought, silently, bravely, and not one moment of your struggle was unseen. The shaking in your soul, the sleepless nights, the ache you couldn't explain. I was there. I felt it with you. I carried you through what you didn't even realize was trying to destroy you. And now the tide is turning. You are stepping into a holy awareness, a deeper understanding that this battle was not punishment, but preparation. You were never alone in the storm. I walked with you in it. And because of that, what tried to silence you has only refined you. Your identity is not lost, my child. It is being uncovered. Your next season is not delayed. It is being prepared. And you are not broken. You are being remade. My precious one, this pause you've been in, it is not a sign of failure. It is the space where I've been working quietly, beneath what your eyes can see. I know it hasn't felt like progress. I know you've questioned, did I miss something? Or, why does everything feel still when I'm ready to move? But you must understand, this stillness has been protection, not punishment. It has been preparation, not rejection. There are things I needed to shift in your spirit before I could shift your surroundings. You asked me to make a way, and I am. But not just any way. The way I'm creating must be strong enough to carry the full weight of what I've placed in you. I don't rush what carries eternal value. And you, my child, are of eternal value. What you felt as being stuck was actually me holding you close while I cleared the hidden snares ahead. Some looked harmless. Some even wore the appearance of peace or opportunity. But I saw what you could not, and I would not let you walk into a trap dressed in light. That restlessness you felt, that holy discomfort, it was me, not letting you settle for less than what I destined you to become. You've tried to go back to what once brought comfort, but something inside you wouldn't allow it. You've tried to fit back into rhythms and relationships you've outgrown, but they no longer carry the life they once did. That's not failure, that's transformation. I have changed your appetite because I've changed your assignment. You are being drawn upward now, not just to do more, but to be more. To step into your identity with a quiet confidence that doesn't shout, but shines. This is why you've been feeling the weight. This is why old desires no longer satisfy. Because the next part of your journey requires your whole self, not fragments, not survival, not performance, but authenticity rooted in me. You may not realize it, but you've already obeyed in ways that moved heaven. Every time you held on to hope with trembling hands, every time you whispered a prayer instead of giving into despair, every time you stood back up, I saw it. I marked it. It mattered. I don't waste anything, my beloved. Not one tear, not one moment of pain, not one lesson learned in the dark. I use it all to form something deeper in you. A faith that doesn't collapse under pressure, a voice that carries truth, a life that moves with purpose. So if you feel like you've been hidden, trust that you've been held. I'm not late. I'm exact. And this time, this sacred pause is coming to its end. The next doors are not random, they are aligned. And you, my child, are being invited to walk through them with holy confidence. My child, you have come to a turning point, not one marked by loud signs or flashing lights, but a quiet, sacred invitation. I am not asking for more striving from you. I am inviting you into alignment. This moment is not about doing more, but about agreeing with what I already placed within you. Heaven is waiting, not for your performance, but for your permission. Your yes matters more than you realize. Not just a spoken yes, but a surrender of your whole being. The kind of yes that says, I trust you, even when it costs. the kind that rises from the deepest part of you, not driven by fear or pressure, but by faith. I do not force. I never have. I wait. I knock. I shine light where confusion used to live. And now I'm shining light within your own heart so your desires can begin to mirror mine. This isn't me demanding. This is my goodness drawing you gently but firmly back into purpose. Because what you carry, my beloved, is too important to be delayed much longer. You've seen glimpses already, moments of clarity, flashes of insight that felt too deep to explain. They weren't your imagination. They were echoes of the truth I spoke over you long ago. And now I am calling that truth to rise to the surface. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the time to step forward. Even if you don't feel ready, you may say, but I don't know the whole plan. And I say, take the first step. Obedience does not require full understanding. It only requires trust. You are not behind schedule. You are not too broken. You are exactly where I need you because your surrender will shape what comes next. When someone I have chosen says yes, it does not just affect them. Chains begin to break, not only in their life, but in the lives tied to their obedience. Things long held in place by fear or generational pain start to shift. The path is made different for those who follow them. That's why the resistance grew when you began sensing this deeper call. That's why the attack felt personal, because it was. But now light is breaking through. Truth is rising above the noise. The confusion, the fog, they are clearing. And as they fade, what remains is the real you, chosen, equipped, called, and deeply loved. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to force open every door. You only need to say yes and let me lead. That's how it begins. That's how chains break. That's how purpose unfolds. You were never just surviving. You were always being shaped. And now you are being summoned, not to impress me, but to walk with me. Your yes, my beloved, carries power. Heaven has already begun to move. My child, hear this clearly. I did not bring you to this place to fix a broken version of you. I brought you here to begin again. Not a repair, but a resurrection. The pain you endured, the pressure that nearly crushed your spirit, it was not the end. It was the clearing of the old to make room for something entirely new. You may have looked at your life and thought, too much has been lost. I've missed too much. But I tell you now, nothing is wasted in my hands. The sorrow, the silence, the setbacks, I use them all. Not as punishment, but as preparation. You are not returning to who you were. You are becoming who I originally intended you to be. The enemy tried to convince you that the struggle marked you forever, that the confusion meant you had lost your way, that your delay disqualified you. But those were lies, carefully placed to slow your steps. He knew the danger you pose when you walk in clarity. He feared the ripple that would go out from your obedience. That is why the resistance came hard and fast, not because you were weak, but because you are significant. My beloved, I have seen every attempt to silence your voice, every label that tried to bind you, every quiet moment when you doubted your worth. But even when you questioned yourself, I never questioned my design. I never looked away. I never left. I've been with you, not just watching, but intervening. While the enemy plotted, I protected. While the trap was set, I wrote a different outcome. And now, what was meant to break you is becoming the evidence of how deeply I care for you. The pit you feared would swallow you is now being transformed into proof that you were covered for a greater purpose. You are not too broken to be used. You are being made new in ways that may not look like what you expected, but they are real and they are lasting. This new path is not a return to old patterns. It is a release from them. You are not being called to fit back into something that couldn't hold you. You are being called forward, into spaces prepared specifically for your restored identity. So let go of the need to prove yourself. Let go of the fear that you are too late. I am not looking for your perfection. I am looking for your permission. Your heart has been made ready. Now your step must follow. You are not walking into borrowed grace. You are stepping into what has always been yours. The fight you faced was not random. It was because of the calling you carry. And that calling is alive. It is awake. It is moving now. You are not just recovering, you are rising. My child, let this truth settle into the deepest places of your heart. You were never just like everyone else. You've always been set apart, not because you earned it, not because you were louder, stronger, or more visible, but because I marked you before time began. I whispered your name in the spiritual realm, long before you breathed your first breath. You have carried a weight of purpose since the beginning, even when you couldn't name it. And that purpose is why the fight was so fierce. The enemy did not waste his energy. He targeted what mattered. He crafted temptations, lies, and distractions custom fit to your vulnerability, hoping to blur your vision and silence your spirit. He didn't come to you with blatant destruction. He came subtly, disguised as comfort, convenience, even peace. But it was false, a trap laid precisely at your point of weakness. And yet, you are still here, not because you had flawless strength, but because my hand never let go. What others called coincidence was really coordination from above. The delays, the detours, even the disconnections, they were part of a divine design. I was protecting what I placed inside you. You felt the tension, you felt the shift. You sensed things weren't what they seemed, and that sense wasn't wrong. It was me giving you insight beyond the surface, because the surface could not reveal the truth of this season. Understand this, my beloved. Your resistance wasn't failure, it was growth. Your endurance wasn't weakness, it was proof of strength. Every time you stayed quiet instead of retaliating, every time you chose to hold on to hope, every time you whispered, God, I'm still here, that was warfare, and it was effective. You've come through not just by surviving, but by awakening. You are beginning to see with spiritual eyes. You now recognize the difference between what feels good and what is truly good. That discernment is precious. It cannot be learned through ease. It is forged in the fire of trial. And you, my child, have come out refined. Don't believe the lie that you're behind. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. My timing is not based on human clocks. I do not rush what carries eternal weight, and I do not abandon those I have chosen. You are not invisible to me. I know your name, not the name others gave you in their judgment, but the name I gave you in my love. That name carries authority. It carries calling. It carries hope. And today, that name is rising. This is not the end of your story. This is the reintroduction of who you truly are. Not what pain shaped you to be, not what fear tried to convince you of, but the real you, calm, cherished, and ready. You are still here because you were never meant to be forgotten. You were always meant to walk in the fullness of your purpose, and that time has come. My child, what is within you is not small. It was never meant to remain hidden, and it was never meant to be carried lightly. You felt this, haven't you? That quiet sense that when you enter a room, things shift, not because of your personality, but because of your presence. That's not pride, that's purpose. It's what I placed inside you. You carry my spirit, and that spirit cannot go unnoticed in a world aching for real light. You've questioned why you attract such resistance, why spiritual warfare seems relentless at times, why relationships strain or doors shut just when you're ready to move forward. But hear me clearly now. The pressure hasn't come because you're weak. It came because your presence is disruptive to darkness. When someone I have set apart begins to walk in clarity, the atmosphere around them changes. The spiritual environment must respond. That is why the pushback became more personal as you grew closer to truth. But don't let that make you afraid. Let it make you aware. You were never sent into this world to blend in. You were sent to bear light, to be a living reminder that I am near. And that assignment, though heavy at times, is holy. I've never asked you to carry it alone. I've asked you to carry it with me. You may not always see the fruit right away. You may not always feel appreciated or understood, but do not measure your impact by applause. Measure it by obedience. Some of your greatest breakthroughs have come quietly, in the hidden place, through a prayer no one heard, through a choice no one saw. Yet heaven saw, and heaven responded. You are not just one of many. You are not overlooked in my kingdom. You are a vital part of a greater plan. There are people whose freedom is tied to your yes. There are chains that only your voice will break. There are lives that will see hope simply because you remain faithful in your hidden season. So don't minimize what you carry. Don't silence yourself to stay safe. The fire inside you wasn't placed there for decoration. It's for direction. It leads, it warms, it ignites. And when you walk in it with me, nothing can stand against you that I will not overcome. I know you felt weary. I know you've been tempted to step back, to withdraw, and make your life smaller just to find relief. But you weren't created for small. You were created for significance. You've already paid a price to carry what you do. Now walk in it with holy boldness. The enemy feared your awakening because he knew once you saw clearly, you would walk differently. And now you are. This is the moment where everything begins to align, not by force, but by revelation. My child, you carry weight in the spirit, and now the world will begin to see what heaven always knew. My beloved child, the very thing that was meant to bury you is now becoming your testimony. What was intended to silence you will now be the stage for my glory through your life. You didn't just survive the hardship. You passed through it marked, refined, and more aligned with who I've always said you are. The enemy hoped your silence would be permanent. He whispered that you had nothing left, that your voice was too shaky, your strength too far gone. But I stepped in. I intercepted the lies before they could root too deeply. I covered you when you didn't even know you were being attacked. And I did not allow the storm to write your ending. What was planted in pain will now bloom in power. You've cried in the night, not for comfort, but for clarity. And now I am answering, not all at once, not in overwhelming display, but in steady light. I am returning your clarity one step at a time, so that you will not just see, you will understand. What confused you before is beginning to make sense, not because everything has changed around you, but because everything is aligning within you. That uneasy feeling that's lingered, the one that wouldn't let you go back to your old ways of thinking, loving, serving, it was my spirit refusing to let you live beneath your calling. I didn't create you to manage. I created you to move mountains through faith, through persistence, through my presence alive in you. And now the mountain is moving. The closed doors, the misunderstood silence, the season of being hidden, they are not the signs of rejection. They were signs of deep preparation. You weren't being pushed aside. You were being preserved. I was guarding you until you could walk in the next level of anointing without compromising who you are. You have grown, though you felt still. You have deepened, though you appeared silent. And now the shift begins. The voices that once mocked will fall silent. The opinions that once confused you will lose their hold. Because when I begin to bring forth what I planted in you, there is no stopping it. No man, no mistake, no delay can stand in the way of what I have ordained. The plan is intact. The timing is now. So do not downplay your journey. Do not water down your story to make others comfortable. What you have endured matters. What you have overcome is holy ground. The wilderness you passed through is sacred space, because I was there. And now as you step forward, you do so not with the weight of failure, but with the weight of glory. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a vessel of purpose. And everything that was used to try and break you will now declare, she did not fall. He did not give in. They rose because I was with them. This is not just survival. This is resurrection. My child, I want you to see clearly now, not with the tired eyes of disappointment, but with the unveiled eyes of truth. The real you is not the one shaped by past failure. The real you is not the one defined by others' limitations. The real you, the one I designed, is rising. You may still feel the dust of old battles on your soul. You may still hear the echo of old voices telling you to stay small. But I am speaking louder now, not with noise, but with truth. And truth doesn't shout, it reveals. I am revealing you to yourself again. The version of you that stood up even when weary. The version of you that prayed even when uncertain. The version of you that didn't quit even when no one clapped. This isn't just recovery. This is realignment. You see, the enemy wasn't just trying to hinder your path. He was after your identity. If he could convince you that you were just surviving, he could delay your becoming. But he failed. Because even when you doubted, I didn't. Even when you paused, I remained at work. Even when you thought all progress had stopped, I was deepening your roots. This is what I want you to understand. You are not fragile. You are not forgotten. You are not someone starting over from nothing. You are someone being released with more than before. More clarity, more strength, more discernment, and most of all, more of me. The process wasn't meant to punish you. It was meant to strip off what couldn't stay with you into the next season. The people who left, The doors that closed, the comfort that faded, none of it was meant to define your worth. It was me, removing distractions so that your focus could sharpen and your spirit could breathe again. Now, there's a fire inside of you that wasn't there before. Not loud or chaotic, but steady. A fire that says, I know who I am and I know who walks with me. That fire cannot be faked. It comes from being kept. And my child, you have been kept. So do not compare your path to others. Do not chase someone else's timeline. What I'm doing in you is tailored, heaven crafted, made holy through the very trials you thought disqualified you. And now I am inviting you to walk boldly in it. You are not entering the future empty-handed. You are carrying the wisdom of everything you've survived. You are carrying anointing born of affliction. You are carrying my authority, not borrowed, but branded into your life through fire and favor. The real you, the one born from the refining, is ready. Ready to walk not just healed, but whole. Ready to speak not from fear, but from faith. Ready to live not cautiously, but called. The unveiling has begun. My child, through every moment you thought you were alone, I was there. Not distant, not watching from afar, I was near, closer than breath, closer than your next heartbeat. You cried in the night, and though no one else heard, I did. You sat in silence, holding burdens too heavy to explain, and I stood guard over your soul. You questioned, where is God now? And the answer was always, right here. I never left. Not when you doubted, not when you got weary, not even when you almost gave up. That thought you had, the one that said you'd gone too far, failed too many times, lost your chance, that was not me. That was the voice of fear, wearing the mask of finality. But I do not speak in endings. I speak in resurrection. You were never outside my reach. You were never too messy for my mercy. Every step you took, I counted. Every sigh, I understood. Even when your prayers fell silent, your spirit still called to me, and I answered. Sometimes I waited, not because I was absent, but because I was allowing your roots to grow deep. Deep enough to hold the weight of the calling I've placed on you. Deep enough to withstand what's ahead. You see, my love doesn't remove every struggle. It walks with you through the struggle and transforms you in it. That is what I've been doing all along. Not just helping you endure, but helping you become. You are not the same as you were. And that's the point. Growth often feels like breaking until you realize it was building. Others may have misunderstood your stillness, called it weakness. But I saw the sacred work taking place within you. You were being rewired, reinforced by truth. I was separating your true identity from the false stories life tried to wrap around you. And now, what is rising from within is real, no longer shaken by fear, no longer dependent on approval, no longer bound by what was. You were not just preserved, you were prepared. That season of silence was not punishment, it was a womb, a hidden place where I nurtured what no one else could see. And now what I formed in private is ready to be released in public. This is your unveiling, not for applause, but for assignment. So walk forward knowing this. You were never forgotten. You were chosen, not when you were at your best, but when you were at your lowest. That's when I said mine, and I still say it now. You are not stepping into hope, you are walking with it. You are not chasing purpose, you are carrying it. The very proof that I was with you is that you're still here, still believing, still ready. And I, your God, am still here too. Still faithful, still guiding, still saying, I will never leave you. Not now, not ever. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to listen, reflect, and walk this journey with me. Your presence, your encouragement, and your open hearts mean more than words can express. I pray that what you've heard speaks deeply to your spirit and strengthens you for the days ahead. May you always remember, you are seen, you are loved, and you are never alone. Thank you for being here. God bless you.